go to a serious issue, but honestly, it seems laughable, Caleb, that Macquarie Bank, all right, not the one we think is the sort of the retail bank that most of us do our daily banking with, but they're going to get rid of cash out of all their branches, right? Now, this is not that important for Macquarie, but the other banks are going that way too. I know some of the other major banks at some of their branches are having no cash. You go to the bank to withdraw some of your money and they won't have it.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, remember when Slim Dusty sang there was nothing so lonesome, morbid or drear than to stand in the bar of a pub with no beer? Because you can't imagine a pub without beer. Can you imagine a bank without cash?
Well, they exist already.
That's sort of how it's meant to work, isn't it? But it's this slow push that we remove cash from society, which means all your transactions will be electronic, which means the bank can track you, the government can track you. When you go to get a mortgage, they know whether you've been on the punt on the weekend, they know whether you've been spending too much money at the pub. It's this surveillance that they want us all to buy into. The only way to get around it is to keep using cash. We have to keep using cash.
You need to keep some cash so you can bribe someone at the bank to give you some cash. Right. It is ridiculous, Oliver. Soon we'll have butchers with no meat.
Don't give the vegans any more ideas, Chris, because they're already going down that path. But you're right, it is nuts. And once one bank does it, then all the other banks look at that situation and think they can do it as well. As Caleb so correctly just said there, this is, to create that paper trail there that, everyone have to set up other sort of accounts, maybe with gambling companies and the like, so you can have a little bit of flash money on the side.
Yeah, unbelievable. We'll have cash money dealers getting around the country trying to give you some cash on the sly. Look, shocking story out of Adelaide. I keep on about this, I know, but a lot of people ignore this. There are shocking dog attacks in this country. I've shown you before how 5 or 6 little children over just the last 2 years have been killed by dogs. Well, lucky no one was killed in this incident in Adelaide.
Blood smears throughout the house, across walls and bite marks on doors. The aftermath the day after a traumatising attack, especially for a 6-year-old boy locked in the bathroom during the ordeal.
She was on the ground here and his teeth were into her arm.
Kalichi, a Shar-Pei cross pit bull, has been with the family for 8 years. But last night he turned on the owner's 39-year-old sister and 42-year-old brother.
Just shocking, Caleb. Now, the thing there, the dog's been in the family for 8 years and it does this. The problem is that it's a pit bull, isn't it?
Correct. And what this proves, I mean, the argument's often run, it's not the dog, it's the owner. If the dog's trained properly, there's no problem. I mean, this dog had clearly been a happy pet for this family for 8 years. 8 years later, the innate ability of that dog, what is bred into it as a pit bull, and let's not forget that pit bulls began in the UK as a cross of bulldogs and terriers for the purpose of bullfighting, and then went on for dog fighting. They're bred for blood sport. That's what they love. 8 years later, he's woken up to what his nature is and he's attacked the brother and sister. There is never any safety with these animals, and pit bulls, staffies, rottweilers, all of those aggressive dogs ought to be banned. I was looking into it today because I've written about this for the Advertiser tomorrow, advocating for a ban in Adelaide on pit bulls, etc.
Yeah, absolutely.
Staffies in 2019, the first half of 2019, staffies killed 4 people in Australia. And that's just in 6 months.
It's just incredible. It's ridiculous. We just can't have them wandering around. I'm just so grateful that there was a 6-year-old and a younger child in that house. Thank God the dog didn't get
Well,
to
imagine
them.
if it got to the baby. It would have ended very different.
Shocker. Well, let's go to a story out of your town, though, Oliver. Also an animal story. I think a much funnier one. An orangutan at your zoo came across a possum. A possum had wandered into its enclosure. The orangutan, understandably, didn't take too kindly to the possum. And then we'll show you what happened and the reaction of people at the zoo. I mean, if you could train that orangutan, there's a lot of people around the country would pay you to come and get rid of your possums that way. A brush-tailed possum it was. They think the possum died. They don't really know. But the zoo was criticised for describing the possum as a pest, Oliver, and they've had to apologise. They've been apparently too disrespectful to a brush-tailed possum.
Yeah, isn't it? I'm glad we can have a laugh on this one, but isn't that outrageous? The zoos had to go into damage control for calling the possum a pest. Now, if I turned up at home tonight and there was somebody in my house who wasn't meant to be there, I'd be tossing them out as well like they're a pest. I mean, we're all called pests. We are so sensitive at the moment to this idea. So think of the orangutan. He's come home, there's a possum in his bed. He said, bugger off, get out of my place. And he's tossed him out. Good news is, though, the zoo thinks the possum's okay. Now, as you said, they couldn't confirm it before, but they think the possum's okay. Or that's what they're telling everybody anyway. But the fact that they're now having to go into damage control over calling the thing a pest, I mean, how many roofs are possums living in Australia right now where people want to be able to collect that pest and get rid of it? So call the orangutan at Perth Zoo, he'll fix all your problems.
I'm thinking of our New Zealand viewers. I know how much you hate the possums. I think the brushtails from Australia that we've left there. You know, pitch in, New Zealand. Sell some of your Air Force jets. There's not many of them. Your Air Force planes. See if you can buy that orangutan from the Perth Zoo. You come and clear out New Zealand's roofs. Well done to that orangutan, and well done to Caleb Bond and Oliver Peterson for joining us on the panel tonight.